everyone, hey and welcome back to yet another episode of Battle Rap Resume. This is your host, Tom Quee here. I'm trying to do slightly different things with the channel, pushing it into certain new directions. I always like doing these solo episodes, and I've been thinking about what little top 10 lists we can do that maybe we haven't touched upon. You know, we've done hundreds of those things on the channel with guests in the past, but this one sort of hit me out the blue. I thought it'd be fun to present something, you know, obviously it's going to be an incredibly subjective list. This is my top 10 favourite bars. I mean, how do you even define what a bar is? Is it a punchline? Is it a line? That's kind of what I've distilled it down to, although one of them is, I guess, a punch at the end of a scheme, and you need the scheme to contextually make sense of that. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing today. My top 10 favourite bars. Really, I just asked myself the question, and these are the ones that I came up with on my phone, and I've tailored it throughout the few days since then, added a few, took a few away. But, yeah, I think, you know, hand on heart, these top 10 bars are the ones that, you know, always stick with me. If someone put a gun to my head, these are the ones that will come out. These are ones that I'll always just refer to. So yeah, we're going to go through them. Of course, please follow the show at Battle Rap Resume on Twitter, battlerapresume@gmail.com if you want to get in touch with me, if you agree, if you disagree. Like, a lot of the bars that I'm going to say today, you'll probably think are shitty bars. You'll probably think, why the hell is that bar there? Why didn't you go for this incredibly classic line by X or Y? And I try to deviate slightly from the canon because it's just a bit boring. If, you know, it's like if I was to do top 10 hip-hop albums, which is actually something that I'm gonna do in the future as a solo one, it's like, you know, I could have put, like, you know, Slim Shady LP, you know, The Blueprint or Illmatic. I thought it'd be more interesting to put stuff that really reflect my tastes, you know, in a wider spectrum, maybe give you a bit more of an insight. If you listen to Battle Rap Resume for a while, you know what sort of battle rap that I'm into. You know that I like the arcane references. You know that I like clean lines with no gristle, no faff on there. So just before we get to that, of course, please leave a review for the show as well. iTunes, Patreon is there, patreon.com/Battle Rap Resume. Everything goes on there first. We've got, you know, loads of good content continuing to be uploaded. Definitely check that out. That's always changing. Also, if you pay the $1.50, you get access to pretty much everything unlisted apart from the Battle Rap Resume episodes. And if you pay $5, you get the Battle Rap Resume episodes, and you also get a link to an RSS feed. So basically, you can then download the episodes on your phone directly. A lot of people requested that. A lot of people make use of that. So yeah, that's there as well. Please subscribe as always. Tell your friends about the channel and stuff like that. And I just want to give a quick shout out before we get into the list today to Dan. Dan is a listener that I really didn't know from Adam until, yesterday and the day before. And we hung out and went to some concerts. Dan got in touch with me because I'd mentioned Arctangent on the show before. I don't know if any listeners are too familiar. Obviously, a few are. It's a Bristol sort of math rock, post-rock, sort of nerdy guitar festival. Absolutely incredible. I saw Toe there, one of my all-time favourite bands. And So Watch From Afar, Enemies, American Football. I appreciate a lot of these names are not going to appeal to anyone, but please check out Toe. If you've never heard about Toe, listen to the albums For Long Tomorrow and the book about my idol plot. Some of the best instrumental music I've ever heard. Very clean, very complex, very enigmatic, very Japanese. Such an incredible band. So yeah, I'd spoken about Arctangent, and Dan emailed me, battleresume@gmail.com, basically just, you know, saying, you know, he was into that sort of music heavily himself, been to the festival many times, and he knew that I lived in Oxford. There was a gig going down in Oxford a day or two ago. Delta Sleep were playing at the Cellar, and then there was actually a sort of math rock festival in East Oxford the day after. And yeah, we hung out on both days, and, you know, I know he listens to the show. We're going to have him on the show for a fancast in the future. Just wanted to give a big shout out to Dan. That was great. If anyone else wants to meet up and go to post-rock gigs in the future, I don't really have many friends who are into them, bar a small groups. That would be very, very welcome. And another thing that I just want to touch on, just before we get into the list, a little bit of housekeeping. How did you guys enjoy Live Barstermind? That was really a bit of a treat. It's a little, I don't know, it's not annoying per se, because I didn't anticipate this. The majority of comments are about Evil, which maybe is my fault to a certain extent. I mean, I got him at the event anyway, but I bought a bottle of vodka before the event with loads of plastic cups, and my plan was, you know, to be a genial host, and after each battle to give a battler a shot or whatever, or, you know, a little bit of mix, just as a thank you, because, you know, we weren't paying the majority of the battlers, and they were just coming out their own, you know, their own goodwill towards the channel and otherwise. But I sort of forgot about the bottle during the day, and as we got to the final battles, where the last battle we recorded obviously isn't going to go on the channel, was Hulk versus Frankie, which is sort of a chalked out one-off that they did in front of the Albert Memorial. Can't wait to see what that looks like. But obviously they were still rehearsed, they had the material, they were happy to do it for the crowd. That was really good to see. And I think it was just after that, as we were waiting for and Danny to turn up for Mastermind, that I got the vodka out, and I think Evil just got his hands on it. Maybe I gave it him, I can't really remember. But yeah, he got more than fucked up. And I don't want to say ruin the footage. He didn't ruin the footage, but, you know, enough people have made comments on it that it is a thing that, you know, I definitely acknowledge. We did have to cut a lot of stuff out of Mastermind as well, where he did even worse stuff. You know, he did act like a bit of a dick, obviously, and I think in the episode I'm like, yo, hold it down, Evil. I say it really soft. Like, I should have told him to fuck off, like, to be honest with you. Like, love to Evil, definitely, but this is something that we worked very hard on, that I think came out very well. You know, it's all the camera guys, and Danny, of course, my girlfriend for laminating the question cards, the cue cards, and Ben is the massive hero here. Ben, you know, edited it all together expertly. He looks incredible. But, you know, the thing got like 2,000 views in like a day or two so far. You know, I'm just recording this on the Sunday, released it on the Saturday, so hopefully, you know, it's getting more and more as it goes on. I know a lot of people enjoyed it. We are going to do more live Masterminds in the future. I think really that's the USP of the Battle Rap Resume events. You know, it's cool to put the battles on, and the battles were fine, but, you know, what we've got to offer that no other league can is not necessarily the clientele or the quality of the battling that we're going to put out, or the roster of battlers that we have, that we've developed. It's just these games that we have associated with the BRR brand, obviously like a Mastermind or something else. You know, I definitely want to do a 2-on-2 in the future. You know, originally, I think I said this before, originally the Mastermind in the park was supposed to be Danny, Jack and Beanie. You know, the acclaimed Rudimental Anne-Marie musician, you know, giant battle rap fan who wears fucking next in line t-shirts when he's supporting Ed Sheeran in European stadiums, and, you know, this guy loves battle rap. But yeah, it was supposed to be Danny, Jack and Beanie versus Quilt and so that couldn't come together for whatever reasons. So yeah, I should say as well, doing this live with the live chats. Nick saying a post-rock fan cast. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about a lot of post-rock on the Dan episodes. That's gonna be really fun. Okay, the editing on it is really good for the Mastermind. Yeah, Evil was being a waste man, says JD James. There we go. But yeah, Unicorn Thief saying having live Mastermind indoors next time with podiums would be sick. Yeah, that would definitely be something we want to do. I definitely would like to take it into more of an out-and-out game show realm with the way we set up the cameras and the sound effects and everything like that. You know, it was a dry run in many senses, but I thought it worked well, and I wanted to temper the game a little bit as well, and I've had some really positive reaction to the names round, where we went through the letters and stuff like that, and that's just really fun and easy to do. Yeah, JD James saying that he heard Rubik's killed it, one of the best up-and-comers. Yeah, Rubik's was definitely the standout, I think, of the day. He has unbelievable material. You know, his performance, well, he's very entrancing in a certain way, even though he's quite quiet. Not that he doesn't project well, he just has a certain nature to him that I mean, versus Stray was decent up. So yeah, that was live Mastermind. And by the way, people, battlerapresume@gmail.com. I have now written 8 Mastermind episodes altogether, and I would say 90% of the questions have came from myself, and I'm just running out of stuff to think about. I want to say a big shout out to Pamphlet and Hulk, who have both delivered some great questions as well. Like the question that I asked about the what battlers have been on Don't Flop and Red JSD, that was a Hulk question. That was a really good question, actually. Never would have considered that myself. So yeah, if you've got any ideas for questions or content or anything, battlerapresume@gmail.com. This is what you're here for, guys. Going through my top 10 favourite bars. These are the ones that when I see in battles, I always get a reaction. I never forget. These are the creative ones. And I've always said this before, like, people get everything out of battle rap. Some people like performance, some people like the exposure or the real bars or whatever, or the gangster or the imagery or just the rhyme scheme, the technique of the whole thing. For me, originality tops everything. It's saying a line or approaching a concept in a way that not even a way that I would never have thought of, just in a way that sparks something off in your brain. Like I've had this a lot when I was young, when I was, you know, reading poetry, and something's put a certain way or approached from a certain angle, and I just got this tingly feeling in my mind, as lame as that sounds, where I just feel like it's unlocked this new cerebral geography. But yeah, it's very pretentious. This is very subjective. Let me know in the comments if any of my bars you agree with. Are they some of the greatest bars ever? I suppose this is a different list. If I was to go like greatest bars ever, there's certainly ones that I would just have to mention. These are just BRR, you know, Tom Quee's top 10 favourite bars. So yeah, we'll get into the first bar. The first bar's by Koj against Briggsy, against Bison Briggs. This is at Sunburn 2.
This the first big event that I get, cause I know Show Cracker canceled Pam and then jet from the ship. And now for pissing off the captain, I've been sent to the breaks. So let's get to it.
So for pissing off the captain, I've been sent to the Briggs. There's something about word choice in Battle Rap that I find fascinating. When you hear terms that haven't been used before, it can just be so much more powerful. And I think this is the all-time greatest Briggsy-Briggs flip. I think Kojey had no-showed quite a lot of people at this point. The argument was, and in the pre-Sunburn press conference as well, that, you know, Briggsy and Kojey weren't really on that same level. Kojey was coming off like the Shocks battle and stuff like that. And he'd sort of dipped from the scene before and then came back and battled Danny Jack, which is a really, really good battle in Fiddlers as well. But yeah, Kojey I've always thought is expert, you know, one of the best barsmiths out there, one of the best writers, has an incredible ceiling. And yeah, I just love the simplicity, the cleanness of this bar. So, you know, the Briggs, I think traditionally was sort of like the jail, the prison on the boat where they sent mutineers or captive slaves or whatever like that. So for pissing off the captain, for pissing off you know, he's been given the doldrums of Briggs. I've been sent to the Briggs. And I remember saying to Kojey at the time as well, I'm pretty sure the only reason I knew the word brig was from Lost. If anyone remembers Lost, which I know Kruger loves Lost. And, you know, fuck anyone that hates Lost. By the way, Lost is one of the GOAT TV shows. I'm not saying it's on a writing level, quality-wise, it's like Breaking Bad or Sopranos or, you know, stuff like that. But I think it's one of the most ambitious, original shows I've ever seen. I don't really like the ending myself, but I have friends who hate Lost because, oh, the ending was shit, it ruined it. It's like, just because you have a bad dessert, if the starter and the main are impeccable, it doesn't ruin the evening for me. I don't know, that's just the way I sort of look at things. So yeah, there's an episode, I think it's in like season 4 or 5, where the Black Rock, which was this sort of 18th century ship that had washed ashore when we saw it in season 1, I didn't really know what it was for. It has time travel abilities or some shit like that. Anyway, the episode's called The Brig, and Sawyer, I think, confronts his long-lost dad, the con man, in the brig of the ship, and it's kind of set. There's a long scenes in there. So yeah, that's a bar that I like. None of these are in order, by the way, but yeah, that's a bar that I really like from Kojey. For pissing off the captain, I've been sent to the Briggs. I'm doing this on the live stream as well, I mentioned before, and we've got, you know, quite a few people in here, so we've got some real-time feedback to what people think of my selections as well in the comments. JD James, who is the GOAT BRR fan, saying it's not as good as Soliloquy's Brinksmanship, Briggsman shit. Oh my god, the soliloquy battle. Yeah, there's no soliloquy bars in any of these lists. It's it's a hard truth that I've had to swallow. Like, I remember as a kid, like, you know, my dad's massively into golf, and he would always have these instructional books by this guy called David Ledbetter, and he's like, I think he's still like the Dr. Dre of fucking golf tutorship. And I'd always ask my dad, I was like, why isn't he winning, you know, PGA Tour, whatever? Why is he writing books? And it's like, you can understand anything to a certain level. When you try and do it, you're shit at it. So yeah, no soliloquy bars in this. But yeah, Lost Rules as well. Gara Mosalar saying, Crafty saying he preferred the just because you were a bitch behind the pen, don't think orange the new black. Yeah, that is fire. That is fire. And Craft saying Kojey went mad in that battle, and he really did. That's one of my highlights for Kojey. And my next bar that I really enjoyed, I remember this bar. This is one of my all-time favourite bars, and I remember quoting this bar on Twitter, and LS Dean saying it was like terrible, or it was kind of strayed that line. The bar's by Danny Myers. I don't know what you guys think of Danny Myers. The thing that I always say about Danny Myers is the guy's on the front line of wordplay. The guy has some, you know, ambitious Icarus-like failures where he just goes over the top and they don't make any sense, their reaches, but the guy has some absolutely beautiful stuff. And the line that I'm about to quote is quite a cheesy line. It's quite a, I don't think it would work in a DF context, but Danny Myers is one of my absolute all-time favourite battlers. This is from, I would say this is the best Danny Myers battle. Also, this is the best RBE battle ever. Danny Myers versus Chiller.
You think the beefing stops? I'll break your face in seconds. Gun butt you till the stock destroyed. Your family be in a Great Depression. Let me catch you with your homeboy.
how many people have watched this. I think this is definitely underviewed. I think this is Danny Myers' best 3 rounds ever. I could have picked tons of lines from this battle. You see the half moon in the middle of the day. That's an equinox. Raise an arm hair for anyone rocking the shit that chill bumps. But the bar that I went to, I think it's in the second round. Gun butt you to the stock destroyed. Your family will be in a Great Depression. Now, obviously, this is referring to the stock market crash where the stock was destroyed. I think that was like 1929, 21, one of those 20 years. I watched the Ken Burns on it years ago. But yeah, your family will be in a Great Depression. Obviously, the Great Depression was the result, of this sort of historical environment for it. Again, you don't necessarily say that your family's in a Great Depression. I guess you could describe it as that. But again, to me, there's something quite ludicrous and ambitious and goofy about that bar. Always stuck with me. Always remember in the battle as well, Chilla's very stone-faced throughout the majority of Danny's stuff. He's often whipping out his half and half hand. It's like, a lot of battlers do that. But the stock destroyed bar, which didn't get too much feedback in the room, Chilla rocks with heavy. And I just like the inventiveness of it. I just like that he went there with that bar. So yeah, that's a bar that I definitely absolutely love. If you're into that sort of writing and you haven't seen Danny's rounds versus Chilla, definitely check that battle out on RBE. My third choice is C Major, who I think is a incredible writer. I think in terms of battle rap music, he's probably the best up there with Kruger in the way that he transmitted the quality of his writing into his music. I think some people can often dilute it, and even like the really heavy writers in URL, like B Magic, for example, who's one of my all-time favorites, who I actually haven't put a B Magic line in this top 10. I definitely should maybe change that out. But as I say, this list will change every week. This is just my bars at the time, September 2018, that are, my all-time favorites. But yeah, C Major, obviously 10,000 Hours, which me and Dave have spoken about at length, is just remarkable. But yeah, the C Major is from the Ogmios battle, which I think hands down is the best C Major battle. I think it's his best performance. I think, he did about as many 2-on-2s as solo battles. Maybe, obviously, more solo, I think, early on has bolstered that ranking. But yeah, C Major against Ogmios, which is, again, unbelievable battle. Very intelligent, very perceptive from here. I was going to go with the drama school shit line, which I think is impeccable. The, drama school shit, put a mark down if you don't act right, which is like one of the best Mark lines I've ever heard. But I'd actually go with the closer of his third round, pretty much his final line, where he goes in on Shuffle and Marlowe, because obviously following this event, they were going to battle that 5th birthday on the Saturday, which is the best Shuffle and Marlowe performance ever, I would say. Definitely check out that episode we did recently. That was a really, really fun chat. But yeah.
You heard who the challengers are for the title? Well, I say challengers, that word can be so deceiving, cause I mean, fuck Shuffle T and Marlowe, cuz that's open season. I done showed you I'm a ruler in your classroom, but they gonna get that old school beating.
See, talking about how he's adapted to Ogmios' scholastic approach there, doing all the teacher bars, the ruler in the classroom, but they're gonna get an old school beating. There's no flab on that. I think the turn is just absolutely brilliant. I love that bar. I think the bar gets a little slept on as well, but the imagery and, I don't need to over-explain these. I know a lot of these are very obvious, the old school beating line. Again, someone that kind of came out of nowhere, obviously had a lot of history, been trying to get him on Battle Rap Resume for a long time. He wants to come on, he fucks with the show, but some battlers I found are just hard to tie down. The majority are fine, but some of them you could never get hold of them forever, and then they respond to you at a weird time zones, whatever. It's Topper. Saurus versus Topper, I've gushed about endlessly. This is uploaded in February 2017. I think it's one of the best battles of all time. It's certainly a battle that I can watch over and over and over again. In fact, I just watched it this morning because I just wanted to find the correct quote for this bar and ended up watching the whole thing. I have fond memories of being with Lazy Ass Jack and Bear Solutions. I think when we just started hanging out and watching battles and putting this battle on and just us all going crazy over it. I mean, there's so many bars in this one as well. I'm sure you've seen this battle, the 90 seconds or less, like a pregnancy test, and change a bitch's life in 90 seconds or less. And just his diction, his tone, the way he says, like, let loose a rampage, armed and deadly narcolepsy, criminally slept on. He's crazy as well. Open Saurus, like creative writing class.
Plus, I was banging with the lords at Santa Clara when the tech was a weapon. Have money dancing with the Nina like a Mexican wedding. What up?
money, obviously, a sort of pronoun, to approach someone with, obviously, descriptive word, and just him dancing with the Nina, using the 9 to cause him to dance, and Mexican weddings obviously have the money pinned on as they dance. And that one, again, has just always stuck with me. It's something that I sort of murmur to myself throughout the day occasionally in some sort of, oddly contextual environments. But yeah, Topper is a monster, is a beast. It was a bit of a shame that the Megadeth battle was such a damp squib. He seemed absolutely fucked up in that battle. It was a bit of a boring battle altogether. Obviously he calls out Megadeth in this battle as well, so that kind of set it up. But yeah, need to see Topper back. Need to see Topper versus, I know he battled Reverse Live back in the day, actually, yeah, but need to see Topper against some juggernauts. I want to say Topper versus Yunnan, but Yunnan is he's about as reliable as Evil not to interrupt. So yeah, probably not worth banking on that. But yeah, that's number 4. Again, in no real order, but yeah, have money dancing with a Nina like a Mexican wedding. My next one is by the GOAT, Tony. Tony's one of the greatest ever. Tony's level of craftsmanship, he's artisanal when he approaches the bars. He seems to just, it seems to come so effortlessly. I think he said this on the show before, that he sort of pities people who stresses them out to rap or to perform. This is something that was built in this man, incredibly adroit. Again, we could do an episode top 50 Tony D bars, and I don't think it'd be boring. I think it'd be really fun to go through all this sort of stuff. Not the one I'm going to pick, but the Templar Surfer battle, the Goat on the Wall, like the Alpine Ibex. That's what I like, really. I mean, if we're going back through these bars now, Great Depression, Briggs, Alpine Ibex. I like those references that make me feel smart, and I think they just add something to the bars, as lame as that is. But yeah, I probably have to point to. Is this Tony's best performance, Tony versus Yunnan? I think it's certainly up there in the Trinity. The Shotty one's fantastic. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Yunnan battle, which is, spoil of riches. Tony in his sweater, looking so fucking classy. It's really a brilliant end to his reign, and very fitting. And a bit of a shame with the Soul thing many years later, that this was kind of what we wanted to see after that. And then when it actually happened, it was... it was a mess, to be honest with you. But yeah, I'm going to go on to Tony, the third, which doesn't get too much reaction, this line. But again, it's one of those lines that is just, so elegant.
I swear I wasn't going to go proper hard. I was going to catch this body smile with leftover shotty bars, but then again, probably not. It's instinctive in truth. My name and title's on the line, so my pen resort to signature moves. I brought the bar. Oh, you make a fucking way.
This is what I draw will turn your whole world upside down, like MC Escher. I mean, any of those could have made this list. But the one that I love, for both the delivery of it, but just how kind of every line has that double meaning, and it ties together in a real successful, compelling image. Pretty self-explanatory there. The use of title and signature moves is just, the use of pen as well. But yeah, love that bar from Tony. I think that's an absolutely incredible bar. Yeah, number 6, had to talk about Chilla Jones. Anyone that listened to the show early on knows that I was like the biggest Chilla stan back in the day. Chilla was everything to me, really, in terms of battle rap. Like myself and my friend Danny, who's been on the show many times, we were obsessed with him. Danny, I think at the time, could quote the entirety of JC versus Chilla. He had the entire battle memorized. I remember him going through it one night, all like 20 minutes of it, and he didn't drop a bar. It was pretty insane. So yeah, Chilla was one of my guys early on. Again, I think the strings are there now. I just don't think he's as good as he used to be honest with you. Like, a lot of people are raving about him versus Iron Solomon as being a classic. I find it kind of boring. I don't know. I didn't find it that stimulating. Like, even the Saurus battle, the Madflex battle, a lot of these battles that I really wanted have just not given me this era of Chilla that I adore, which was kind of his PG rise, I guess, up until sort of the Daylight battle, because like after the DNA battle, which he probably won, actually, he definitely lost at the time in the universe, but I think looking back with hindsight, his writing was a lot more expert, and he had some huge lines as well. Leave the ring in a box, like you're afraid of commitment, and he had some great stuff in there. But yeah, I'm going to point to an early Chilla battle on URL, which is, I think it was on like Poison Pen TV, but it got released on URL, so it was on a different league. And this is the MCD battle, which has like 200, 300,000 views, and you see like so much crap on URL get millions of views, and like so undeserving. Such a good battle.
Well, here's more spite, ferocity, and animosity. Them bullets need a barrel with speed and velocity. I'm about to let you have it for real. Generosity, the chiller known to kill a cat like curiosity. Your brain only has the capacity for simplicity. You need audacity, tenacity, and intensity. I'm varsity. My authenticity be offending city. Common link between these words, they end in city.
So basically, there is a scheme in this battle where Chilla just starts. At first, it doesn't quite make sense what he's doing. He's sort of just using the same endings of words. You need perspicacity, velocity, intensity, and then it ends with my authenticity be offending city. Common link between these words, they end in city. And it's such a triumphant end. Really, you need to tie off a scheme with a punch that transcends the entire list for it to work. So when someone is just straight out scheming, and then maybe they end with a clever, schemy word, then yeah, that's fine. But for me, it's the meta-analysis of this, that the words themselves are bodying him. But, grammatically, in terms of syntax, sonically, the words end in city. I just think it's very witty, very clever, end sharply. Again, there's tons of Chiller stuff that I could go through. Another Chiller bar that I adore is in the third against Daylight, where, it is an overplayed concept to use the word pop as gunfire and father, patriarchal figures. But I can't remember the exact bar, but he talks about shooting him 3 times, and each pop is like the stepfather, the father, and one of them like lifts you up, and one of them makes you crawl and teaches you to crawl, and the imagery is insane. That's such a good battle. And Daylight's K scheme is one of the most overrated things in the history of battle rap. I don't really get that. Don't really get Daylight. You're not going to see Daylight on this list. Again, let me know in the comments, what do you think of my list? What do you think of my reasoning? What are your all-time favourite bars? What comes to your mind if I say what's top 2 or 3? What are the lines that always leap out at you? Next line is, I think, the most recent line on the list. This comes from Rum Nitty versus Iron Solomon. Rum Nitty is fucking fantastic. I remember first seeing Nitty against Danny Myers on that King of the Dart, Lima Bean Time Machine, Diz in the background, Day in the background, in that really cool sort of rec room that they're recording it in. I remember liking Danny a lot more, but reading afterwards a lot of Nitty's bars in the comments and sort of understanding him a bit more, like he had this sort of dog scheme where he was saying I'm the bar king, he had stuff like that, and that made me appreciate him a little more. And then seeing him here and there, he really was King the Dot's guy for a second, facing sort of weird no names. Then he battled B Magic, which was incredible, and it was it'll never end when they got it Infinity and stuff like that. I think that bar pricked my ears, and I was like, okay, this guy's fucking serious. And so yeah, what is it? Running down with a long nose, coming down with something, because something against fucking Ill Will is a crazy bar. But yeah, this bar for me against Solomon, demonstrates his mastery of the punch. It's a perfect line in my eyes. It's one of the ultimate anti-Semitic Jewish bars ever.
I leave a nigga leaking for intervening. While your people be penny pinching, mine nickel squeezing. I kill him easy.
That's just remarkable. That actually took my breath away when I first heard it. Obviously, penny pinching, usury, supposedly, in the Jewish community, tight control on their budgets, whatever, so the aspersions go. And yeah, penny pinching, nickel squeezing, obviously the nickel-plated trigger on the 9 or whatever. And again, I'm risk of repeating myself here, but it's important to me that there's nothing you could take away from that line. There's no adornment in there at all. There's nothing unnecessary. Absolutely lethal. So yeah, that's Nitty versus Iron Solomon. But again, so many bars I could pick from that battle. Okay, so next one is Ogmios. Again, one of my all-time favourites. I think one of the greatest battlers in the history of Don't Flop. And really, he was good to begin with. We're going to be doing an episode soon, myself and Joker, where we're going to go through the first quarter tryouts. the Fiddlers tryouts, which kind of, set the precedent for the Killer Crop and all that sort of idea. And one of the battles is Ogmios versus Heavy Duty, and he was fantastic in that anyway. He was good from the day dot. The Matter battle, where he sort of breaks down Matter conceptually, literally breaking down Matter, and falls apart under investigation or something like that. I can't quite remember what that bar is, but yeah. So yeah, Ogmios versus Most Prob. Again, this is one of these bars where no one's really going to understand it, whatever, but I adore it, and I find it fascinating that in the room no one, I think reacts as well as he always seems to. So I mean, this whole battle's incredible, but yeah, Mos is being attacked by Og for his sort of pretentious, appropriation.
Some might say that's a pretty prodigious output. I say you're just projectile vomiting outwards. You'd be better without words. Your tracks are puerile, basic outbursts. Your rap's Damien Hirst, a pretentious plagiarist trying to force a laugh. You'd only shit on the formaldehyde preserved corpse of a shark.
Which again is one of the most obscure. Obviously, if you're familiar with Damien Hirst, it's it's not too obscure. Like, he had this sort of a shark's corpse preserved in formaldehyde. One of these kind of things. Can't really say that word. Like Tracy Emin's bed. Like these new British artists that they were going for this sort of postmodern aspect, tying it in with the O'Shea shit on a shark. I just think it's absolutely genius, inspired way of putting it together that really hammers home Og's point there. So yeah, that's number 8 for me. Number 9, this is Soul. And again, Soul is my favourite battler. I was saying this to Dan before that I mentioned earlier when we were at the gigs. His friend Jamie was there as well, a really good dude they just met through the festival, and then he lives in Oxford and go to the gigs. You don't need to know all this information. But anyway, inevitably, we got really drunk, and me and Dan were just talking about battles loads, and I felt kind of bad because Jamie clearly didn't know what we were talking about. He doesn't know his fucking definition from his Holly Holster, whatever. But I sort of didn't care as well. I just wanted to talk about battle rap. So we were going into it, and we both agreed that there's no one on Soul's level. Like, we're proper Soul fanboying out. I mean, ever since I've really became cognizant of battle rap, really got into it, like 2012, 2013, it's always been Soul. I don't think there's ever been, even when I was in my deep chiller phase, I don't think I was at 100 Bullets phase as well earlier on. Even when I was in those sort of paradigms, Soul was always glued to that spot. He will always be my favourite, and I think he's just gotten better and better as we've gone on, really. And I want to point to the C major battle for this example.
Your pen game dead weight minus death row. You got a 4-4, that's a tempo. I will hold down C, so the first, second, and third, I'll make him fret those.
Not the pen circles around C because he copywriting. That's incredible. Not even the ISIS bar, which again is just remarkable in 100 million ways, especially the way Soul crosses his eyes. If you want to hear a bit of a longer discussion about that bar, that battle in general, Tom Doyle came on the show recently, went through the Don't Flop title matches. That was a really, really fun discussion. But I'm a guitarist myself. I busk occasionally in Oxford, so anything guitar-based, I'll always be biased towards. But I just adore this bar. He's got a 4-4 that's a tempo. I will hold down C, so the first, second, and third, I'll make him fret those. So obviously, Soul is referring to the rounds of the battle, and C will be worried as he goes forward. The quality is being displayed already. But the way that Soul constructs, in terms of notation, tablature, the chord of a C in the open position, it is the first, second, and third frets with the first, second, and third fingers as well. Obviously, you can play it in a multitude of different permutations, but again, the elegance of that, the spirit in that, the knowledge, again, not necessarily something that will probably be a haymaker or anything like that. I think even if you did know about a C chord, maybe it just might appeal to you. It's a little arch, but I adore that. So we're just about to get to the 10th bar, which I think a lot of people are going to be confused about. Why have you picked this bar? This is a shitty bar. Let's get back to the live chat just before we do see what people are saying about the ones previous. So yeah, just before we get to the final one, let's see what people are saying in the comments. Yeah, as I said before, the bitch Orange is the New Black bar from Kojay is getting mentioned. That was crazy. Crafty in the chat. Crafty's getting some people fucking, which is good to see. Yeah, the Fraser battle was crazy as well. Your hair's more wavy than a friendly person getting mentioned as a favourite bar. Yeah, actually, there's no wizard bars in here. Jack C 1992 saying, is there any wizard bars? But no, yeah, I didn't pick any of those, but I definitely could have went with some of those as well. Yeah, there are some so good. Ricardo Lewis saying didn't catch the drama school bar until you said that. Yeah, that's crazy. Dancing with the Nina. Oh yeah, the wizard got a black Nina and it's called Simone. That's crazy. Get fired on the day off, Craig from Friday. That's another one as well. JD James saying Daylight, one of my all-time favourites. But I can't put up with him because of all the bullshit. Also saying Daylight versus Oops, a better RB battle than Daylight Chiller, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, certainly regarded the better battle. Not seen it too much, to be honest with you. And yeah, I just don't like Daylight. I'm afraid I can't really watch much Daylight stuff. Ricardo Lewis saying Daylight's bus scheme in the third against Rich Dollars is insane. My favourite number one bar right there. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, the whole first round versus Raptor from Jonai. Crafty saying has some great bars in there as well. Yeah, people saying they love about to get both barrels from the jump, like Omar on the trench coat is fucking played out. Yeah, people have done that before apparently. The C major bar. Okay, I've not been. Kraft saying yeah, Soul could be the top 10 as well. It could be all of top 10. All those people. Yeah. Footy bar episode would be sick, someone saying as well. Yeah, we are going to do a football bar episode probably with LS Dean as well. So yeah, again guys, if you've got any more questions for me, let me know and we'll get into the chat after this. But yeah, number 10, and I feel bad now because going through the live chat, I realised there's so many people I've left off that are probably more deserving than this guy, and I'm pretty certain unless you fuck with Battle Rap Resume heavy, you would not know who this guy is. I've actually had him on for his own episode. I think he's got about like 20,000 views total on Verse Tracker over about 4 or 5 years. It's Dago Davalo from iBattle, kind of alumni of E Farrell and all. That's actually how I got into this guy, through E Farrell. He shared the Collie C battle. Yeah, Dago Davalo's got 42,000 views, got 22 battles. That is an absolute disgrace. Absolutely embarrassing, really. Yeah, he battled Collie C. This is back in April 2016. So, God, it's like 2 years ago. It's gone fast. But yeah, unbelievable battle. And for me, again, there is a certain... I don't know what it is. I don't want to say cringy because that's negative, but there's something about this that's very knowing and very 90s as well. It's always appealed to me. Anything that references that sort of Nickelodeon, MTV culture, Goosebumps in this case, which you're going to get into, all those sort of bars, just do it for me on that sort of cerebral level. But yeah, this is Dago versus Collie C.
That dude they trying to get like, I give smack rappers goosebumps. They call me URL Stein. So fucking respect it.
So yeah, pretty self-explanatory there. URL, RL Stein, the sort of author of Goosebumps there. Giving rappers goosebumps as well is maybe, you don't kill them or intimidate them, you just put them on edge to somewhat. But yeah, that's my number 10. So let's just go through these bars again. I had Briggsy versus Koj, pissing off the captain, being sent to the Briggs. Then I had Danny Myers versus Chiller, gun butt you to the stock destroyed, your family being a Great Depression. C Major versus Ogmios showed you I'm a ruler in your classroom, but they're about to get an old school beating. Topper versus Saurus was the next one. Have Money dancing with the Nina like a Mexican wedding. Tony versus Yunnan. My name and title on the line, so my pen resorts to signature moves. Chiller's City Scheme against M City, which ends in common link between these words. They end in city. Nitty versus Solomon. When your people penny pinching, mine and nickel squeezing. Ogmios against Most Prob. You only take a shit on her for Alma. I cannot say that word. Preserve Corpse of a Shark. Soul versus C. The first, second, and third are making fret those. Hold down C. And then Dago, the give smack rappers goosebumps. They'll call me URL Stein. So, I mean, let me know down below, what are your favourite bars? Give me a list. I'm sure it won't take you too long to think of them. It's always good to see what people come up with. And, a lot of people maybe will be surprised at today's list. Maybe they'll think that I no longer have any authenticity in the scene because I picked that URL Stein bar. Hopefully you guys didn't hate it too much. But Crafty saying he's got to get back to studying, but he should come on to do some top 20 Tony punches or something. Yeah, top 20 Tony D punches would be a good episode, definitely. I think me and Naz are going to do top 5 Tony D rounds sometime in the future. There's always so many episodes that I never get to that are on the back burner, and we need to do some more BR episodes as well. I have been slacking slightly. You may have noticed, dear listeners, that in the start of Battle Rap Resume, it was like one episode every month just because I was getting a hang of it. And then when it started to get a bit more popular, and I had more time on my hands, I did 2 Battle Resume episodes a week, which I think I did for like 6 months, which is just crazy. Then it dropped down to a week. Now it's dropped down to every fortnight. Now it's just sort of when I record the episodes. You know, we've got some fun episodes coming up, though. Still got loads of content coming up weekly. We got Els coming on the show. We've tried to record the episode a few times now, and it keeps fucking up for some reason, which is quite annoying. No part on Els, but yeah, whatever technology. So, also got Random on. Random of Reddit fame, Random who's been on Ruin Your Day Battles, Random who got a lot of hate on the Watch series, Random who's came on, you know, very smart, interesting dude. I think he's like a sort of freelance poet at times in New Orleans, and came on the show. We did the World Dom 7 preview, which was a lot of fun. We did sort of both cities, both days. So yeah, those were my top 10 bars, as I said. Let me know, you know, whatever else you want me to cover in the thing. Top 10 Blam battles, people are saying as well. Yeah, okay, interesting. Oh, Ricardo Lewis donated as well. Bro, again, way too generous, sir. But yeah, this has been Tom, Battle Rap Resume, going through, as always, various top 10s. This has been my top 10 favourite bars. Hope you've enjoyed them. Hope maybe I've reminded you of some of your favourites, and you've got ideas now of battles to go back and watch, go back and enjoy. We've got the Patreon there. iTunes is available, of course, if you want to leave us a review. But yeah, this has been Tom, at Battle Rap Resume. Enjoy your days, guys. Thank you as always. Bye.